My name is Mikhail Khomich. I'm going to moderate this discussion. We have the most interesting discussion of this forum. That's the main thing we do. I'm doing SKOLKOVO School, Startup Academy, and MSU Incubator, but those people who are here are grand experts. So I want to call you here. First, Philip Rosedale, entrepreneur, founder of the virtual world Second Life, and Sergey Ryzhikov, founder and general director of Bittrex. Peter Westerbuck is not going to wait for any invitations. He's right there. And we have the bird, Mr. Red. And Natalia Kasperska is coming in. She's going to get here in a couple of minutes. And then Alexander Appner from webinar.ru, and he's going to join us a bit later as well. Here in this hall, we also have honored experts, and sometimes I'm going to ask the audience, so you need to get used to that. So it's the first time we have this open format. It's the first time for me having this open format when I'm sitting right by the table. So please get a headset for our colleague there. So, who is a native Russian speaker here? So what we are going to do today here is a plenary panel dedicated to growth, startup growth. And first, I want all our speakers, when we don't have that many speakers left, so I want all of them to introduce themselves. And if you don't mind, Peter, we'll start with you. Just a minute about yourself.
So, can you hear me? Yeah? Okay. Yeah, so I'm Peter. I'm the Mighty Eagle at Rovio, and what that means is that just like the Mighty Eagle in the game, I tend to get involved in kind of like key, like let's say, important projects, and just like the Mighty Eagle in the game, it's kind of like a silver bullet to clear any level in one shot. And yeah, if you look at Angry Birds today, we're now at over 2.5 billion downloads of our games, and that means that the brand of Angry Birds is very well known. So 9 out of 10 Americans know the brand, 93% of the Chinese population know the brand, a lot of people here in Russia know the brand, and we've then expanded into kind of like other areas. So we are also running the biggest animation studio in Northern Europe for our first Angry Birds Toons animated series. We just hit 3 billion views, so our animations are also super popular. Actually, in fact, this weekend we're launching season 2. And then if you look at the overall business of Rovio, 47% of our business last year was in physical consumer products like this. So we are kind of like a physical digital company that is all about providing Angry Birds branded experiences in all forms and shapes to our fans. Okay. So quick introduction. Yeah.
Thanks so much. Philip?
Thank you. My name is Philip Rosedale. I'm originally the CEO and founder of Linden Lab, which is Second Life, which is the online virtual world with avatars. And now I'm working on a new startup, which is hopefully the next generation of that. That startup is called High Fidelity. Thanks.
Кстати, перед тем, как мы перейдем дальше, я...
By the way, before we move on, I want to ask, do we have here Igor Sugnich of Fresh Office Rio? Okay, so we continue. Sergey? Good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Sergey Ryzhikov. I'm CEO of Bittrex, and we produce different items. Mostly they are business-oriented B2B. It's e-commerce system. It's a site design system. And second product is a cloud service, Bittrex 24, internal communication system and collaboration system. We are working in this market, and maybe that's why I was annoyed. We've never got any funding. We've always used our money. We are quite profitable, and even in projects we make in the form of a spin-off, and then in 1 or 2 years we managed to make them successful. Okay, thank you. Now, Igor. We have 1 minute introduction, then we do the slides. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Igor. I represent, I think we are least known here. I mean, the name of our brand, but it's a matter of time. So it's Fresh Office project. We work in St. Petersburg and in Singapore. Fresh Office are the key business apps united to a big ecosystem. Ecosystem contains the apps that help working with the customers, provide detailed analysis of your company status at any stage. We've been working for about 1.5 years of a working cycle project, but we have over 20,000 users all over the world. Headquarters we have in Singapore, and we have development office in St. Pete. The average revenue, the approximate revenue we managed to make is $1.5 billion per year, and we are growing fast. And of course, in time, you'll be more and more familiar with that. So thank you. And we have InfoWatch General Director, Natalia Kasperskaya. And good afternoon. I introduce InfoWatch company. We do the corporate solutions. We do the leak protection systems. So a leak protection system is quite a complex system that installed in all the channels of information interception channels in the company, and it doesn't allow the confidential information to leave this perimeter. We have expanded quite significantly over the last years. We have acquired a number of companies in info security. We have targeted attacks security system. We have vulnerability watch system. We have a system that analyzes mobile devices, and it protects them from the content point of view, and we have a number of other systems. So our area of specialization is information security of a company. Thank you. So as you see, we have quite a strange format, because normally we sit comfortably in chairs, and now we have kind of talks, conversations in the kitchen. So I'm going to ask questions, and we'll have questions from the experts, and some people who really want to ask some question can leave a couple of minutes for from audience. So we have an issue with sound. Please sort it out. So I'd start with Peter, and I'd ask the following. Angry Birds company became known back then due to a lot of downloads, and now I believe you do quite a bit more. So what does bring? Where do you get your money from? What does develop you?
Using the games, and as I mentioned, we have 2.5 billion downloads of Angry Birds. So that means that a lot of people know the brand, and we then use that fact to expand into other areas like animation that I mentioned. So that's something that we're doing. Also consumer products. So we are now in the kind of like top 10 of all licensed entertainment brands. So that is a big chunk of our business. And recently, besides covering all areas of entertainment, we also actually, we already started working on that 4 years ago, but it's becoming more visible now. So we have a big education program. So we are working on making learning fun. So our ambition is to transform education globally. We started the rollout of that kind of like actually end of last year. We trained the first teachers. So we work with university partners. We train the first teachers in China, but there are 15 million teachers in China, so it's going to take us a few years to train all of them, but we will. And then we also opened our first classrooms in Shanghai this year, and next we're going to open early years kind of like fun learning classrooms in Chengdu, in Beijing. Just signed a deal to do the same for a complete city in Brazil, so taking 10,000 kids kind of like through our fun learning program. So we're doing a lot in the area of education, in the area of learning, and of course that's a very exciting market for us, because if you look at the education business globally, that is actually the second largest business on the planet after food. So we have kind of pretty high hopes for growth in that area. But I think that kind of like the bottom line is that we are in the business of providing Angry Birds branded experiences kind of like in all forms and shapes to our fans. So our business is very, very simple. We have two things that we care about, our fans and our brand. And then when we kind of keep those two things in mind, it's actually pretty simple, and then hopefully we do the right thing. So that's kind of like our business currently.
As for me, when you hear something like Angry Birds, it's a synonym of success. You're always growing rapidly. My question is, could you please come up with some examples of your failures on your way to growth?
Of course, I mean we do like small failures like every day. So I think that's again what I always say when people come up and like congratulate me or anybody at Rovio, that it's like what for? Because from kind of like our perspective, we haven't really achieved anything yet. I mean, yes, we got a few downloads and we built a brand and like all of that, but if you look at kind of like then our ambition, there's still you know so much to do, and I always say that it's not like we're building a game for 100 days, but we're actually building a brand, we're building a business for 100 years. So there's no kind of like massive sense of accomplishment or anything like that. And then on the, kind of like the topic of failure, I mean we have lots of examples of where we've failed, but I think that that's also you know, that's again it's a very you know like human thing. So I mean we all you know fail like every day, you know, small failures, big failures. So it's no big deal, and I think that you just need to take an attitude that you always learn. And maybe just to kind of like highlight one kind of like bigger one is that when we first launched into these things, so kind of like going into physical consumer products, we did a kind of like big mistake in the way we kind of like we thought that we ordered a lot of these. So we actually built like our own web shop in like 2-3 weeks, and then we opened it up starting selling toys in November that year, and that was just before Christmas. And then of course what happened when we started promoting that in our, I think that time we had tens of millions of downloads, so like a pretty big audience. We started promoting to our fans, and what happened was that we sold out in a matter of days. And then of course what happened was that we got lots of parents, you know, contacting us, email, phone calls, probably faxes, like whatever you could come up with, you know, thousands and thousands of very angry, you know, parents getting in touch with us that I just ordered, you know, a red bird for my kids for Christmas, where is it? And then it's like nowhere, because you can't, of course, with physical products, it's just like, you know, it doesn't happen like that. So we actually then brought on board 20 students between Christmas and New Year, and they worked until March the following year just to clear the backlog of you know, angry you know, like customers. So again, you learn sometimes like the hard way that, you know, scaling a physical business is very different from scaling a digital one. So you know, one example of failure.
Thank you for this example. It's because most people don't like talking about failures. А к нам присоединился прямо в ходе.
And we have Alexander Alpern joining us, founder and general director of webinar.ru. So just a couple words about yourself, and we'll get another mic right there. Just a couple words. So good afternoon. My name is Alexander Alpern. I'm an entrepreneur and founder of webinar.ru service. We do a service for web conferences that allows for the people all over the country to create conferences, to do trainings, marketing presentations, and recently we've finished with Intercapital and EBRD, and it's been discussed a lot, but anyway, we have managed to create business. We have managed to bring in several thousand customers, even though initially we started using our own funding. So we are going to do to make use of the latest success to keep on with the market.
Чтобы у нас так все было нормально. А вот честно, слышно?
Alex, can you really hear what we say? For example, those people that are sitting at the back, can you hear us? I just wanted to make sure you hear us, because it's like I feel like we're working in the military conditions, in the war conditions, so you have to be confident. Now I would like to ask Natalia. I have this question for you. You developed one team of specialists. Now you're developing a different team. So you've got big experience in terms of scaling business. What are the impediments? What are the obstacles for business growth? Fast growth, I mean. Well, the biggest obstacle, maybe it's not exactly an obstacle, but some conditions, is just lack of success. For example, Kaspersky Laboratory didn't have much success, didn't have much luck, in fact. And I have to say that we've made a lot of mistakes, and we had a lot of failures, just like Peter said, and we made so many mistakes at every step, and they were so different. But I have to say that we were lucky. But when I moved to InfoWatch, the situation changed, because I felt I had to struggle a lot with just circumstances, and all those methodologies that I used to have, they never worked. I started building a partnership network. It failed. We had very successful business in Germany. I went there to Germany with Kaspersky Laboratory, but we failed. We couldn't sell a single version of the product. We were struggling there for 2 years. Then we moved to Malaysia, to the Middle East, and I never really worked with laboratory there. So it's completely different. I can compare two kinds of business. And sometimes it feels like if you've done one thing, then it'll be much easier for you in the future. But it's not true. Maybe you just no longer make the same mistakes, but it might be that you make completely different mistakes. So I'm not a great fan of business education, frankly speaking, when people just try to study like cases that were successful. But I think it doesn't make any sense to do these case studies, because we can never explain why one company was successful and another was not. For example, the businessman can tell you a lot about being a genius and how great he was, but it's just that he was there at the right time, in the right place. So maybe it's more interesting to study the experience of failures, but not many people speak about it and write about it, because there are so many. These losers are so many, so why should we study the experience? So it's a tricky thing. Thank you very much on behalf of SKOLKOVO School about education. Yeah, you have to invite us more. And speaking about success, I can quote my coach that trained me to run the marathon. He said, the more you train, the luckier you get. So, you know, you have to work a lot. But now I'd love to move on to the next issue, next question, because business can be successful only if there are right people. Of course, there's PR, there's money, funding, but still people is the main capital. So I'd love to ask you about your experience. For example, can you have the same people? For example, you started business with 1 people, and then do you have to keep the same people? Or I have to say that the short answer is no, but that's a very short answer. But if I am to elaborate, I have to say that people that launch business when they just at the startup stage are very different from people that manage this process. So you have to understand that at every stage of company development, you need different kinds of people. But this is theory. In practice, when you realize that there's a next stage, you have to develop the corporate structure, you have to develop processes, you understand that you need new people. But in practice, it's really difficult to bring in new people to the company. So ideally, you have to do what you can to make sure that the people that you have had from the start just develop professionally so that they could perform different responsibilities. So you have to keep this balance to make sure there are not so many new people who are not part of the team yet, who have never been the part of your company and never shared the values. But have you ever had to fire people that you started business with? Yes. To vacate the space for professionals, yes. Ideally, it's great when everybody understands what niche or what place he's to, what role he is to play, not just to hold his position. So once there is this understanding, then it's easier to work because you can maintain the same person and assign new responsibilities, or you can take on board a new person, but maybe this person would be interested to have a specialist, for example, who knows a lot about processes or finances, so that they could share the responsibilities between themselves. So it's true that not everybody wants to share. And
other key points to grow.
I think that startups go through 2 big phases, and it's important to recognize that they're very different. In the first phase, the company is inventing and changing the product to make it work for someone. And in the second phase, it's trying to make as much money as it can from those products, and it's usually doing that in a competitive marketplace. I think that many times the teams need to change as you transition from the first stage to the second stage, but and this is because the first and second stage are very different stages in terms of people. But a mistake that can be made, and I see happening all the time in Silicon Valley, is to believe that you are mature before you are. As the technology is enabling us to make more radical and inventive products, we often believe as business thinkers that we're sort of done far before we really are. And so the board will sometimes step in and say, we got to throw out the founders because we got to get business people to run this as a professional company. In many cases, that's done too early. Before you've finished with innovation, and if you change out the management team before the innovation is complete, almost always the company is going to fail.
Я бы сейчас хотел поговорить немножко о таком вопросе, как клиенты.
Now I would like to ask you about customers or clients. When you have a small company, it's easy. Like you have 5 customers, you have this individual approach to everyone. But the more company grows, the more customers you have. You have thousands of customers, so you don't have time to deal with everyone individually. So I'd love to ask Sergey, because you focused on building this customer relationship. So how can this growth, growth can prevent from good interaction with your clients? That's a not easy question. Can you hear what Sergey says? Not so good. Is it better now? So this is not an easy question. because we speak about the company life when it has developed at the first stage. It came up with a very useful product that was appreciated by the customers, and now you have to replicate it and to make sure it is available for a great numbers of people. So sometimes startups are not ready to scale and follow the trends on the market. For example, we were developing a program for controlling and managing websites, and so the clients wanted us to do everything ourselves. They said, yeah, we know you have partners, but I'll give you 3 times as much money and then you'll do it. And so that's a great temptation. You have to say that we are not doing certain things, otherwise we will never be able to grow. So you have to understand what kind of business model you have and what kind of competences you have. Like if you know a lot about software, then you should develop software and you should leave consultancy to some other organization that can do it better. Then the second difficulty is related to the fact that this process is not as smooth as you thought it would be. So you have to reinvent it all the time, rethink it all the time. Partners are different and the customers are all very different. For example, we have 11,000 partners now, the companies that use our products for their websites. That's a great market. So we understood that quality depends on us. So we have to develop the product in such a way that they cannot fail when they create their websites or internet shops. So you have to understand that you have to make this product in a different way. You have to think about the philosophy of the product. So you have to take on the responsibilities yourself instead of delegating it to some other partner. So, and this leads to reshaping the company, to so the idea is to make sure there are no customers who are not pleased. Yes, this is the ideal. That's the ultimate goal. But the situations can be different as well as the approaches. But yes, we have to make sure our technologies are accessible and easy to work with. And I would like to ask the same question to Igor. After I saw your website, like you are in the growth stage, so do you have any problems with your customers? Well, strategy plays a very important role, like whether you are McDonald's or a very good expensive restaurant. Like McDonald's can serve a lot of people and there's no problem about it. And this is the key definition, I'd say, whether we work personally with every customer and we won't have that many customers, or we have different kind of prices and we are going to serve a lot of people. But then you have to have special tools and mechanisms. And McDonald's is a great example because there are different kind of solutions, universal solutions or special solutions. So there must be a system and that help you control the massive amount of information over customer flows. So that's my vision. And if you can build good systems, then you can service very many customers. And if you obey the rules, if you follow the rules, then you'll be very happy. You don't have this very high expectations like, oh, you promised this and that, but I didn't get it. Dear colleagues, I just would like to remind you that you'll have a chance to answer to ask your questions later on. But now let's move on to some practical things. So I'd love to ask my question to Peter and Natalia. So let's start with Natalia, because ladies first. So my question is related to the team, but more specifically about the CEO position. So when do you have to move the founder away and hire someone else? Well, it depends on the founder. I think all the founders are different. Like Bill Gates was the head of the company until it became a multi-billion corporation, and he coped fine. Then Apple tried to move Steve Jobs away, but then they would have so many problems, and so they would go back to Steve Jobs and then ask them to get them out from that abyss. So this question about the role of the founder is quite strange. It all depends on how adequate you cope with your role. Well, people are changing. Because today, well, the person doesn't have a lot of experience, but just the business grows and you grow with it. Many people maybe don't grow that fast, but still there is this process. So I don't think you should oust the founder just because the founder can understand this business really well. And the founder understands being the main stockholder, being at the heart of the company, what he wants to get from the company. So he is a driving force, and it's always positive for the company. On the other hand, those people that have entrepreneurial spirit sometimes do not know very well some specific processes when they have to do a lot about logistics, when there is like a flow of things to do. Again, there are some exceptions, but still entrepreneurs do not like to deal with those issues very often. But again, it doesn't mean that we have to get rid of them. Maybe you should just hire people, employ people that can close the gaps. For example, what is CEO? What kind of job description they have? It can be a visionary who identifies the vision of the company, who identifies the strategy, how the business is going to grow. Whereas, for example, speaking about system management, they should find a person who will help to do this, will help a person who will be responsible for logistics, or will help to find someone who will do this or that. So it's a teamwork, and the founder should still have some central role, maybe not necessarily director general, maybe some other role. Maybe not the director general, but again, it's very useful to have this motor, to have this engine or driving force. And Apple is a great example of that. If you remove the heart, the company will die, no matter how big it is. I understand that I took a risk when I asked this question, because we have only founders at this table. And I was talking to Valery Savitsky, so he said that, oh, you have to appoint CEO, but whereas we're having here only founders. I'd love to ask Peter now. Again, what do you think about CEO, whether you need it or not? Is there a recipe for that?
I really think that we should always kind of like avoid generalizing, because you know, just like people, every startup, every company is different, and I think that it's always very dangerous if you kind of like make too kind of like deep kind of like conclusions about, you know, like if Apple does something, we should do the same. And I think actually what Philip was saying, that I think Silicon Valley suffers a lot from this, that there is always people are trying to figure out that there is some kind of rule that exactly as I said, that okay, now we're at this stage, founding team moves out, professional team moves in, and I think that for every rule like that there are like tons of exceptions. And I think that there are tons of exceptions because there really isn't some kind of universal rule that, you know, like at a certain stage you have to do certain things. Because again, founders are different. I mean, some founders kind of like learn how to cope with kind of like the bigger organization, the bigger business, and some okay, might learn, but they might not want to do it. I mean, it's also very much like individual choice there. So it's not like you can say that you always have to do this. I think that you really have to kind of like play it by ear and not kind of like expect some kind of universal rule to exist. And I think that it's always kind of like the most dangerous thing is when you start thinking that you have to do what everybody else is doing. I think that that's always bad. You should always think for yourself. And I mean, not totally related to this, but I always get startups, you know, like here and like everywhere coming up to me and saying that, okay, and I ask them, okay, so, you know, what are you doing? And then I hear, okay, we make games, we make, you know, like fusion power or whatever. But I mean, like all kinds of like amazing ideas. And it's always that, okay, so what are you going to do next? Oh, we're going to move to the Silicon Valley and raise some money. And then it's like, okay, so why are you doing that? Because isn't that like what you're supposed to do? And then it's like, why are you supposed to? It might be a good idea, but it might also be like the worst idea. So again, you should never just like do something because you think you are supposed to do that. So it's again, when it comes to founders, CEOs, whatever, I would just say that, you know, like think for yourself. That would be my advice, like always.
Спасибо, и да, видимо, рецептов мы здесь.
Thank you. Probably we are not going to get recipes here. So, okay. Alexander, I'm going to give floor to you, but first I want to clarify something. You're a young company, and of course, I believe that the basis for growth is the basis itself. When you just created a company, what do you need to do to give it a chance to be successful in future? See, if you don't have a market, there won't be any growth. So you need to understand what you are doing before expecting growth. But as for the previous question, I want to add a couple of words to what Natalia said. It's really important to understand that a founder is an entrepreneur in general. Maybe it's one specific feature of these people is that they should have this ability to continuously change. It's not that easy, and I'm quite skeptical about people in general. The majority of people are not able to change throughout their life, and moreover, my belief is that the basics are being formed during the first year of your life, and it's really hard to change that. And I think that entrepreneurs are the people that have this quality, the ability to change. And when you're in the very beginning, when you have to do everything. You have to sell, you have to do the finance, the analytics. And when you get the team, like first 30 people, then you have to become a manager. You have to slap your own hands to avoid doing everything yourself, visiting customers, doing this and that. You have to make yourself using different tools, managerial tools. Then we have the next stage, like for instance what we have now. And during this main stage, the main idea for an interpreter and for an entrepreneur and a founder and a CEO is to do the corporate culture as the first thing. Secondly, to find people, and third thing is visiting such events as we have now. I guess that would be the prioritization: team, team culture, people, and this. So, if you take a look at my day, now I am here at 4:30. I have a board meeting, and then we are playing football because we have a corporate tournament, and we are fighting CTI, our main competitor, in this football game, and there will be some shooting there as well, TV shooting, and you don't really have time to visit customers. So that's why now we have CFO, we have operational executive, and you need to make sure that they are all comfortable together. So my main task of mine is to ensure all these people work efficiently together. So I understand that open innovations is in priority. Sorry, and another important moment is, like, I see my objective now We have very good relationship with shareholders. They are very transparent, and people trust each other. And I'm quite open about my idea. For the next 6 months, I need to make sure that the process should be designed in such a way that if I'm getting fired after this 6 months, the business is still running. So my idea is to ensure my interest of being a shareholder as well. So if I'm, as a shareholder, want to find a new CEO, I should be able to do that. You know, it's like what we used to call in Soviet time manager for everything.
Here I missed one of our football games against one of the other companies, but now that, of course, we also play football at Rovio, so I'll challenge you and your team at some point, so we'll come over and do that, because I think that this is actually a very important thing that, again, like on the topic of team building and all of that, that I think that it's very important when you build a team that also you have people that actually don't mind, doing things like playing football together, and I think that we shouldn't forget about those kind of, let's say, less serious activities, because it can be very, very important kind of like balance, and you should always make sure that you and the team have fun as well. And, if it takes playing football, perfect.
Вот, Наталья, видите, не все согласны, что люди...
See, Natalia, not everyone agrees that people change, people don't change. So what's the right way then? I don't know. Maybe my colleagues have less experience. I don't know. I've been observing people for quite a while, and I say that if I haven't seen a person for 10 years, I believe that I don't know anything about this person, and I meet this person over again. And if I had bad experience with a certain person, well, sometimes even fundamental things about people change. Some principles in life and views and approaches to work. Of course, they change everywhere. And if nothing changed, we would have been stuck. It also depends on the desire to see and to find some common grounds. So I believe that people are quite flexible, and I want to use flexibility. So my colleague believes that some people are not flexible, and it's yet another approach. Yeah, it's about having a pessimist and an optimist. I had a friend of mine. I don't believe people. I believe Excel. There we have figures. Figures not tricky. But unfortunately, it's not true for business. Sorry for interrupting, but speaking about Excel, I saw one financial season business, and it's a horrible story. They make it dead and turn it into something like Excel. The main problem is that they try to extrapolate the old figures and numbers for futures, like thinking that if you had it this way, it will be this way. But it's not true, and business depends on many factors. And if you lose the drive, the team stops moving forward. I have this comparison I like. The financial people are people with their head turned backward. And to lead a business, you need to have your heads facing forwards. So figures, of course, you need to track them, check them, but you cannot move on the basis of them. Yeah, I like your idea. Yeah.
What's the role of CEO in terms of securing successful growth, and what's the best role in different stages?
Well, not only I think are there best types of people for different stages, but what I see happening today is that the nature of the capabilities of the CEO are changing as technology causes business to communicate differently. I think the CEO of, say, a mid-size or larger company, historically, was often a kind of a solitary person who operated with a lot of, you didn't know what he or she was doing. They guided the company, very strong principles, whatever. Today, we have a situation where there is enormous transparency and communication in business. Everybody sees what everybody else is doing, and this is why, for example, Silicon Valley is so successful in creating startup technology companies. But what this means is that the nature of the CEO role is changing, and I think that some of the qualities that you need in an earlier stage CEO, you now need those, well, you need some of those same qualities in a later stage CEO. Later stage CEOs now need to be much more open and much more collaborative, for example, with their peers than they used to be. The sort of, even Bill Gates, not looking very far back in technology, even Bill Gates was a kind of a wild, very aggressive cowboy character in the computer industry. And if you compare Bill Gates to Sergey and Larry at Google, or even, I suppose, in some sense to Steve Jobs, or to Mark Zuckerberg, if you compare him then to the CEOs now, there are very significant changes that have happened. The CEOs now have to operate with tremendous amount of connectivity and transparency around what they do. And this is changing the nature of the people that are guiding these big companies. And I think the needs are changing. In short, I think the CEO of a bigger company today needs to be much more sophisticated with a balanced, collaborative, engaged approach with a lot of different partners that they may sometimes compete with and never quite win, and sometimes collaborate with.
Мне вспоминается уж, извините за...
Sorry for this scientific thing. I remember the Greiner theory now, like, and the example of this theory that initially you get the CEO who's working and working and working, and next you have the CEO as like a watchdog walking around and checking everyone. So yeah, I know it looks like we are doing the PR for ourselves now instead of working. So I want to ask Sergey, CEO's role. So, like, give me it this way. What's your working day like? To which extent are you involved in company's activities and so on? To my mind, there is an interesting phrase highlighting the difference between current CEO and CEO of 20 years back. Initially, CEO was somebody who's systematizing the process. Task of such CEO was to build a process, to formalize, and to make sure this process is the most profitable. And now, probably, it's better to say that CEO is a person who's managing changes in the company. And I believe that a CEO has to have a clear understanding of how to change a company and to bring in this idea into the company that everything's changing. And if everyone's changing around and your company is not changing, it means that somebody inside is very rigid. So you need to make this idea of changes a part of a corporate culture. And second thing, at least to me, is products. The idea of our software business is product, and the biggest part of my time I spend for products, for communications with product people, with marketing, with market people. I'm demonstrating design to some people. I'm discussing design and other things. Of course, there are some things that distract me from products, like this event, for instance. But in general, most of my time I spend on products. And I believe this to be my main focus. Sometimes it's called product, sometimes it's called strategic marketing, maybe it's producing, I don't know how to call it. But that's to me about changing company. And one more thing that I want to add. Once a year, we do a big strategic session in a company where we get it together and do the planning on how to change company all together. So after everyone realizes that the company has to change and is changing, then you get everyone together and decide how you do that. So we make this one-year plan, what we are going to change, how to change, how to plan it, and the departments also do their department specifics. So speaking about changes, this plan for 1 year, I remember this Sony founder's book that's called It's Too Late After 3, which says that after 3 years old, it's no good to try and change something. There is this great quote.
Ну, это так HR любят шутить, что если не поменяются, то уволим. Раз уж мы стали говорить...
It's like a joke from HR people. If people don't change, we'll fire them. So, CEO role, a question to Igor. What do you do being a CEO? And if I understand it correctly, you're at an earlier stage. So what's your role as of now? Oh, if we compare the projects again, well, sometimes a CEO is invited for his or her name. That's this really cool CEO, and we need him. And sometimes, and by the way, I want to add what Alexander's mentioned about key points, key statements, regrowth. Like, I've learned about your service very recently, and you got Intel Capital in your information list. And we got Microsoft brand, and they've supported us a lot, and I want to thank them. So when we were hiring a team, we were always using this brand. No one wants to go and work to startup. And when people were saying that you're here now and tomorrow you won't be here, and we are saying that this corporation, this great company is supporting us, so we are going to be okay. So it's important to be as flexible as possible, especially in the beginning. You should be able to see something that others miss, and you need to look your profit, your benefits everywhere you can. And company moves after the successful people. No one wants to be around loser or losers. Because if my CEO is that, then maybe I'll also become that. I cannot really say I support Natalia because it's not really possible to find an answer to this question. CEOs are very different. It's a very different notion to everyone, and some CEOs do great and some not. And sometimes you get the CEO who has money, who has great education, great ideas, but it's not working, and you cannot predict here. Yeah, I remember that when we were just creating Moscow State University Incubator, and we managed to invite Galsky from Diamond Holding and other big names to support us, and it was really great. Like you were mentioning Microsoft that supported you back then, and it so happened that we have great experts here, like Natalia Radosteva, who is a technological entrepreneurship department head in Microsoft. We're going to give a microphone to you now. So how do you support entrepreneurship, and how can Microsoft help a company grow? Because you're not a development institute, you're a business. You know, we are focusing on 3 stages. On the earliest stage, when there is only an idea behind the project and you need to test out, try out all their other ideas. Could you speak a bit louder? So, yeah, we are focusing on 3 stages. First is the early stage when you get only an idea and you need to check them. We have BizSpark program where any physical entity can come with his or her idea, make use of technology and create a prototype without thinking how much it costs, how to do that. We have this kind of training course. And the next stage, when you have a ready-made prototype and you see that there is market for it and you need to carry on with creating big products. So being in business, we are mostly focusing on B2B solutions, and we used to have a grant funding program, and we've transformed it. We made them smart money program. We have added industrial acceleration because we have industrial and technological expertise. And together with PRI, we have opened an accelerator for B2B companies. And we help such companies to avoid old mistakes and to move on forward. And the main advantage of this acceleration program is that we can involve our partners, and this B2B thing can get access to a corporate customer. And it's very difficult to do so when you are a startup. So we are helping people to make pilot implementations, to try them out with loyal customers. And when a startup is scaling up, we are helping them with PR, with marketing. So we are opening for them those doors that they cannot open on their own, like some big PR projects with big publishers, or it can be picturing with in our Windows store, or maybe we can invite them to take part in some exhibition or to take part in some competition, like to help their business to grow. And with their business growing, the quality of the solution is growing, and maybe we can use this solution to offer to the Russian market.
Об еще одном важном факторе.
Now we are going to discuss another important factor for company growth, which is funding. And I'd love to ask Natalia, so what is your work day like? I always dreamt of asking you this question. What is your working day like? Well, my days are different. I'd say about 60% or 70% of my time spent in discussions. Usually when I come to work, it's to discuss something. I don't even have to check my email and to read through all the emails, because once I come to the office, one person comes in and the second person comes in, and it's so difficult to find time for someone, because it's my schedule is always full. Sometimes the meetings last longer, but I think the main goal of a manager is to make sure you have this communication process, just to make sure you avoid some problems. Then, of course, I spend time on my emailing and writing documents, and also a big part of my time, maybe not every day, but still it's if we look overall, like monthly periods, is spent on PR. So CEO should do a lot of sales, because we're trying to save some money, some marketing costs. That's why I'm involved in this. Now I'd love to move on to funding. So where can you get money? Well, classical example is some investments, or you can use your own money. There's also grant funding. It's a separate method. Well, as to banking instruments, it's not very common here in Russia. So when Sergey said that he never really borrowed money, I was surprised to hear that. Can you develop your company? Would you not experience any delays? Sometimes I'm really scared when I think that the company starts up with thinking where I can get money, and then the same happens when the company dies. So it's not about making money. It's about creating a useful product. So if you see there's a market growing, then you don't need a lot of money. You'll be able to create your own prototypes yourself using your own money. If you realize that you have been useful, then the customers will show you a way of development, and they will be happy to pay for value that you create. Then the later you think about money, the more expensive you will cost. And the most important thing is to understand why you do it. It's completely different from going and getting a loan from the bank. You'll have to pay back it anyway. I think if you have a lot of money, it can spoil your company because it overshadows the product. It replaces the product. Sometimes company creates completely unimaginable things, and they say, "Oh, the investors wanted this," but it's so strange. Can I also make a comment? I actually agree with that. The best position is not to borrow any money. But when is this possible? That's the main question. For example, Bittrex, it was a special situation. The market was empty. You didn't have any competitors, and no IT company attracted any money. You can take any company. For example, Kaspersky Laboratory also didn't use any investments. But then the situation, the market changed. There were a lot of foreign companies came to the market. Then the labor costs increased. I remember that I paid programmers $200 in the 90s, whereas now I have to pay much more to programmers, and their salaries are much higher than my salary. So just to sum it up, I can say that you have to attract money, especially if you develop some sophisticated products. For example, if you involve some complex technologies, of course you require funding. You can't work without this funding. Then if the market is in an emerging stage and you have to invest into the money, and that's what InfoWatch experienced. For example, we created a product and then we realized the market didn't have this need, so we had to spend 3 years to explain how useful our product is, and then the many competitors came here. So but again, we were using funding. And then there are some other situations when you really need money. So that's briefly what I wanted to say. But I didn't mean that you had to sum up. You just mentioned that your programmers make a lot of money. That's why I said resume. It's just we trying to pay minimum wages. I can see that Philip put down "do not overfund."
It's one of the easiest ways to make a company that's doing something really innovative, that's working on a genuinely new product. One of the ways that I've seen those companies fail a lot is by raising too much money. Particularly in Silicon Valley, where we have these upswings between a lot of available capital and not very much available capital. In those stages when there's a lot of capital available, which we're in right now, a lot of times companies will raise far too much money at the beginning and then hire too many people to specialize around the different things they think they might need to do in the future, and then they stop actually inventing the product. And so one thought maybe that's a bit different is don't overfund startups. So many of them fail when they're genuinely innovative. Raising money is not the largest problem you have as a startup. The largest problem you have is making something useful to people. There's no question. And this is getting harder and harder. The other thing I would say is that from the product side, from a funding perspective, the thing that's really changing the world today is this ability to ask your customers whether they'd buy something before you make it, which takes on different forms. But we have the Kickstarter campaigns that have been very successful. We have crowdfunding, which is equity-based. And then we have sort of angel syndicates and things that are happening. All of these are tending towards being more people making a bet on your company. And in the case of crowdfunding, the people are actually making a bet on a prototype or an example that you've shown them. And I think this model will become more and more important for companies raising money in the future, in addition to the traditional, say, venture-backed methods that we use to start companies today.
Я правильно понимаю, что
So I understand that overfunding is not good, and it's better not to borrow any money. Of course, and maybe even those people that are willing to give money, they can be evil. But it's good that we have Prostor Capital managing partner. So Alexei Solovyov, why do you give money if you shouldn't do this? I'm gonna perform the role of Dark Vader. I knew that you were gonna ask me, so I was thinking what I should say. I have to say that all the companies can be divided into 4 categories, depending on 2 criteria. One is that they can raise money or they cannot raise money, then they want to do it or not want to do it. And this leads to 4 different clusters. So investors find most companies that those companies that want to raise money, but they cannot, so they are the most attractive for us. And in this segment, all the companies can be divided again into 2 parts. For example, Beatrix is this sort of company. It's a good company, but it's not good for investments. You see the difference? Not quite. Well, it's a good company because it was founded like 10 or 15 years ago, more than 10 or 15 years ago. So if it were funded at that time by some venture fund, then this venture fund would still be there, whereas venture funds are supposed to make money eventually. So it's a good business for the founders of the company, but not good business for investments. But what about managing buyout? I'm not sure if you're ready for that, especially that I haven't really seen any managers buy out. And if we speak about big companies, then there's a second group of companies that are attractive for investments, and that's the kind of companies that we should choose. If we say that we shouldn't raise investments, it's very abstract. Like I said, there's a market segmentation from the company's point of view and from funding point of view. But we should find a balance, the synergy between the companies that might need investors' money, that this money can really help that company and also enable the investor to make money. So this is the interaction that we should seek. It's true that there are no universal recipes. Some businesses need a lot of money that start up poor, and some don't need. And I can just share my lessons. We used our own money at the startup point. We actually we managed to acquire the company, the competitive company, and we were quite comfortable about this because at the beginning it helped us develop business, develop the right culture for business. But now the situation changed, and I think there was some delay, because it would be better if we had this change a bit earlier, because we would have it would have enabled us to get a bigger growth, because when you develop your company, of course, it depends on the segment. Like we tried to save a lot of money. On the one hand, we wanted to invest into marketing, we wanted to grow, but then it means that you have to save money. You can't hire good specialists. So you make the existing team to perform as many functions as possible. So this is a big obstacle to growth. So when you have to change your scale, you have to do it in the right time. I remember that we borrowed some 700,000 rubles for free without any interest. Of course, it was a great chance. Yeah, if you have this chance, you have to use it. I feel some internal contradictions here. I think grants can spoil you. Like there's a group of people, a group of companies that love grants. Well, it's not that these grants corrupt people, it's just the people are corrupted already. Because you can, well, it's just the life is like that. So whenever you can find grants, some free money, you have to take it. Now I'd love to ask you about the role of investors, and I would love to ask Vice President of SKOLKOVO Foundation, who is the Executive Director of Nuclear Technologies Cluster, Igor Karavayev. So what do you think about it? I really felt tense when you asked SKOLKOVO Foundation at this point, because the SKOLKOVO Foundation has nothing to do with grants. It's more about building ecosystem. When we try to diverse our activities, when we have to support those who need it. I have to say that only 1/4 of all startups receive grants from us. And in this final part of our discussion, I'd love to get back to the part when we discussed fundamental success of startup, what they should do to be successful after the startup stage. What can they do to attract specialists in order to get, for example, the grant from SKOLKOVO? We now brought together more than 1,000 startups. And so what we do, first of all, when we get to know the startup, when we get to know the designers team, whether they should go to SKOLKOVO or not, we focus on one fact: whether this designers team, no matter whether they have just started their business or already a few years, whether there are two people, like they have an engineer or developer, but the second person is not always there. And we mean, when we speak about second person, we mean entrepreneurs. So it's very important for us to have this symbiosis, this synergy between a developer and entrepreneur. Sometimes it's not easy to combine those qualities, and there are some classical examples that it's impossible to combine these two qualities in one person. We, of course, can train the developers, we can teach marketing and other things, but we won't be able to turn the developer into an entrepreneur. So I'd love to recommend all the startups that they have an entrepreneur on their team. Then they'll be able to be viable and to continue their work after the startup. I would agree with that. I agree that it's not only about funding. We do a lot of things here, mentorship, education, and maybe it's much more important than just money. Speaking about this duality of business founder, you know, there's a founder, hustler, and artist. So these three roles, well, at least two. And now I'd love to ask Peter. There's this saying: while you play with your schoolmates, you'll remain there at the level of your schoolmates, like, for example, playing concerts with amateurs. Whereas if you want to be a rock star, you have to buy a good, expensive guitar, you have to do some marketing, but you need money for that. So we have heard already that it's better not to take money, but what's the other way if you want to be successful in the future, successfully grow in the future?
I don't think it's about the money. So I mean, how we built the Angry Birds brand, we didn't spend any money on like traditional advertising or anything like that. So I don't think that we're kind of like a good example of like how to build a brand with money, because we didn't use any money to do that. But I think that of course, if you want to be successful, kind of like beyond your own like local market, beyond your own borders, of course, I mean, you always have to, no matter where you are and what you do, you should always try to do things better than anybody else. And I think that kind of like always help building kind of like the best products, the best services, the best games on the planet. And I don't think that you can have like any other ambition. I think also if you look at Rovio and we're from Finland, so I mean our home market, it's like 5 million people. So for us, it's like it's obvious that being number one in Finland doesn't like get you very far. So it's very obvious from day one that you have to go outside, and it's not like we have kind of like a massive market at home. And I think that that's actually, let's say, a good thing for us, because I mean there are a lot of companies that can be very successful by being successful only in Russia or only in China. And I mean if you look at most of the Silicon Valley companies, I mean they can be very successful by just like being number one in the US, massive market, and then of course like the whole like English speaking world, you don't need to worry about if you're Facebook, it's okay, if you're not in China. And same thing goes for Google and Twitter, and like the list goes on and on. So I think that it's more and more important for companies like us to think about kind of like the whole world, the whole planet. And of course, I mean, we want to be number one in Russia, in China, in Brazil, and the US. And I think that that's something that why wouldn't you?
Окей, и такой же вопрос к Игорю. Насколько...
The same question is for Igor. Like, have you borrowed money? And if you borrowed money, who you borrowed it from?
Very often it happens so that money finds you itself. Initially, we were thinking, oh no, we have to borrow money and split it. But Natalia is absolutely right, and you're also right. Programmers, Yandex Direct, Google, etc. It's open in offices and so on. But sometimes some money just comes. Once a person from Progressive Investment firm came, maybe this person is around here, and he said, like, I really like what you do. Why don't I give you some money? And yeah, it does stimulate growth, but growth stimulator cannot last forever, and you need to find this moment when you no longer need it. You need to jump off it on time. Either you live based on that or based on product. Because if you keep using these stimulators, it's not going to be good for you. Like sometimes investors come themselves, and I see here familiar places, and I remember talking with them like, first you open in Singapore and then we'll think. And sometimes people just come, let's collaborate. I know that you're opening a new office, and I can give you money. And we in the end took this money, and we are doing quite good. We are over 20,000 users, and we are doing great with Yandex and so on. And you don't get revenue without money, without stimulators. But you need to remember that you need to jump off it. Yeah. So, like once a month we come to a bookkeeper and say that, why, if we don't have any accruals here, and can we leave for a month for 2 days? It reminds of smokers bargaining. First we try 1 week, then we try 2 weeks. But you need to be very careful about that. And as for funding, it's very interesting. So we have a doctor of economics science, Fiaxel here, representative of National Association of Business Angels and NABA. What do you think about funding? Do you need funding for growth, and should you take it, and why? I'm sitting here and really smiling. Great, smart people I can see here who have done a lot of things, and they have different opinions, and I'm asking myself why, and I have a simple answer to that. We have an elephant, a rabbit, and an ant. And they discuss what they are eating and why leaves are better than flies, for instance. and they are talking about risks and dangers. And some people say like we have the greatest danger is a human, and for us the greatest danger is a frog, and so on. You know, companies here are at different stages of their development, and their business experience and life experiences are very different. I mean, when Natalia is talking, I'm smiling. Natalia, who has seen a lot in her life, and she understands from scratch what is what and how much it costs. And then we have Alexander, who keeps saying same phrase, we've managed to raise this amount of money. And for founders and for entrepreneurs who are not really entrepreneurs, they say that we managed to raise money. And you know, it's not that difficult to raise money. And Igor says that some people just bring their money to us. But you need to understand this thing. An entrepreneur is not a person who managed to raise money. An entrepreneur is somebody who created a product that has a consumer of this product. And entrepreneurs can sell this product, and there is some capitalization and some market price. So what do you want to hear about? What do you want to talk about? Investment? And I agree that it's not a good thing to have ongoing investment all the time. There was this company, Aloka. Well, it still exists. And there is this classic example. And a founder once was writing this tearful article, why a startup is not developing. And this person, I cannot forgive him something. This person has opened an office, and he put a carpet on the floor, and everyone who came into this office had to take off the shoes and put on slippers. And I stopped working with this company. And you are also talking about this symbiosis of founder and entrepreneur. But we also have a third player, an investor. And it's clear that we have venture funds, and they sort of observe whether this company is or is not going to die. But no, some people join the management. No, we are talking about classic funds or foundations who have hundreds of projects, and there are 6 to 8 experts working there. Excuse me, they will not make it. But business angels are different. Business angels are joining the management because it's their own money, and it's this third person. You need to think 3, and if these 3 are together, then probably they managed to make it. And getting back to money, I was sitting and smiling. There are different opinions. And there is some founder calling him or herself an entrepreneur. He's doing that, this and that. And we have a different entrepreneur who is an entrepreneur, and he or she might use his or her own money, and it's different. And you know, we have different situations, have different statuses, and when we try to give to provide some general ideas to young entrepreneurs, well, I agree with Peter here. You can't be general. You can't generalize. And I heard one important thing here. You need to understand that the team has to change. And in my experience, I had this case when I had 4 teams between creating the startup and the startup becoming successful. So let us differentiate between some things. It's great to play soccer. Well, maybe I do something else instead of football. Maybe I'm going to go visit some art gallery. But we need to understand that there are different understandings. Startup manager and a group of companies manager, which employs hundreds of thousands of people. And there is this important little thing. development strategy. This top manager, whatever you call him, CEO, president, whatever, the main function of his, probably not football, not open innovation, exhibition visiting, but working on company's strategy. Oh, thank you. Quite eliminating. So I agree that there aren't any general recipes, but I think we've managed to get all the representatives of a zoo, if we use your terminology, different birds and different animals. So I know that it's not good to ask for general advice, but just in a blitz mode. The main thing that can help the startup to grow fast, just quickly.
I think that it's just it's about attitude and ambition.
Attitude and ambition.
Yeah.
Okay, Alexander.
Again, no universal recipes in using our example. And I want to reply to Edward. Before we managed to raise money, we've involved 3,000 customers. We made a 100 team. We almost acquired a certain company. So that is to understand the market, understand the customer, and make a good product that customers are going to use. So ambitions, product.
Cycle times. If you want to make a company successful, make sure that there's the shortest number of days between each new attempt at making the product work. I'd say the companies that take a long time, you say even a couple of months between having something to show their investors or their potential customers, are more likely to fail nowadays. So very short iteration or cycle times.
Just shorten iterations between users and product.
Right.
Окей, сокращаем итерации. Сергей.
Очень хорошие советы.
Yeah, very good pieces of advice, but I want to add something important. It's very important to watch relationship within the team. Competition is not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is relationship between the owners, relationships with investors, relationships within the team. Follow or track the internal processes. You can win any market if you have good relationships within. Okay, ambitions, iterations, relationships, it's just we need to remember that. I think concentration. I agree, you don't have to visit exhibition, and it's not a usual format for us. Together with we are walking around with our marketologists, and we are wondering, what are we doing here? You need to make a choice, and you need to tell yourself, I'm concentrating at this stage on this 100%. Okay, and Natalia, your recipe. I'd say there are internal things, there are external. As for internal things, I believe that the main thing is a team. Strong team can make even a failing project work. As for external part, you need to differentiate yourself from the customer. I like Jack Trout. Either you differentiate or you die. I agree with that. Thank you. Well, we had different opinions here, wrong or right opinions, or right for these stages, wrong for those stages, and I hope that somebody managed to find something for him or herself. And we had very good experiences shared by our customers. But I keep getting messages that I'm going to be kicked out from here soon. So maybe we can do it the rest in one-by-one conversation. So thank you for this interesting discussion. Thank you.